closer. Let's go to our Brussels correspondent, Dave Keating, who's awaiting us. Dave, pleasure to have you on the programme, as always. Europe united, it seems we're hearing. This is quite an achievement by Trump, isn't it, to unite Europe in this way?
Yes and no. I mean, I think as the reality sets in here, we're getting signs of splits between European leaders. This was a head-spinning day of crisis meetings happening all over Europe, and that is ahead of the Davos World Economic Forum, at which European leaders are going to be meeting with Donald Trump over the next 2 days. And that's going to be followed by an emergency European Council summit of EU prime ministers and presidents happening on Thursday. That was just called last night. That's happening in person in Brussels. The key question that needs to be resolved is whether Europe is going to threaten to use the anti-coercion instrument against the United States if Trump goes ahead with these tariffs. We've had the government of France very clearly saying that, yes, this must be on the table to deter the United States. Today, we had the German finance minister speaking next to his counterpart from France, seeming to sign up to that, seeming to say that, yes, Germany also says that this so-called nuclear option, as some are calling it, should be on the table at that summit on Thursday. However, then later in the day, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz seemed to be backing away from that, saying that he wants to have negotiations with Trump when he speaks to him in Davos. Then we had Italy's Giorgia Meloni seeming to come out against the use of the anti-coercion instrument, trying, it seems, to make excuses for Donald Trump, saying that this was a misunderstanding, a miscommunication about why these European troops went to Greenland. Then we've had leaders in Eastern Europe siding with Donald Trump, notably Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico, who went to Mar-a-Lago over the weekend and dined with Trump. The Czech Prime Minister also seeming to side with Trump over his European allies. So as the course of the day went on, we really saw more and more divisions emerging in Europe over this.
That is interesting that you see I suppose it's the usual suspects in many ways sort of siding with Trump, talking about Fico and his well-publicized views on Donald Trump and his politics. But I'm wondering if Europe would have I suppose the word is the guts to exercise that nuclear option, because it would be something from which there would be no turning back, would it not?
That's the big question, yeah, because Europeans will be hurt by this as well if this is activated. There will be blowback. There's a couple of different options here. So there's that anti-coercion instrument that I talked about. There is also the still standing retaliatory list of tariffs on $92 billion worth of U.S. products. That could kick in on February 6th because actually that trade deal, so-called trade deal between President von der Leyen and President Trump struck last July still hasn't been ratified by the parliament and probably will not be at this point. So they can just go with those retaliatory tariffs. They can also tariff U.S. services imports, but all of that is kind of mutually assured destruction. It would have major, major impacts on the U.S. economy, but also on the European economy. So they are really keen to avoid that. Now, a commission official today at the press briefing with journalists really stressed what this is all about. He said, this is really about making the threat. They do not want to use this because of the blowback that would happen. The point is simply that when this trade instrument was devised, they were actually had China in mind for who this would be used against. And the whole point is to have it there as a threat to deter a hostile foreign actor from making coercive threats using trade. So there's a lot of voices saying that, yes, this has to be on the table. If this isn't coercion, what is? I mean, it really is the dictionary definition of coercion. Nevertheless, we have the leaders of Eastern European countries, Italy, really sounding reticent about this, and also German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. He said all options are on the table, but then seemed to really be sounding very cautious about even threatening to use these instruments that the EU does have, and these instruments can really hurt the United States if they have the guts, as you said, to use them.
Davos is going to be interesting, Dave. Thank you very much indeed for giving us that context. Essential, as always, Dave Keating, our our Brussels correspondent, giving us that insight into what might or might not happen next. Dave, as always, thank you.